One, two, three, check. Yes, we are live. Good morning, good morning, good morning, folks. This is Naeem Aslam live from London, and welcome to our daily update on our YouTube channel. This is your chance, folks, to ask me as many questions as you can, because during the next 10 minutes or so, I'll be discussing equities, I'll be discussing commodities. We'll be also looking at Forex and, of course, cryptos as well. So, a bit about myself. I come with a wealth of 15 years of trading experience during this time period. I have worked as a hedge fund trader for Bank of New York Mellon and as an equity trader with Bank of America, and currently providing services as a chief market analyst to AvaTrade. Bit of a disclaimer before we continue. Anything which will be discussed in this video cannot be perceived as an advice. If you are seeking for one, please do consider consulting with your own financial advisors. And folks, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, I highly recommend you to do so, because this will give you an opportunity to get all the notifications the moment that we go live. Right. So what is exactly is going on in the market? That is the question which is which traders are very much asking themselves today. So if we look at the European markets, one thing becomes very, very clear, that the majority of the European markets are trading flat. How so? We are seeing DAX trading down by nearly 0.09%. The CAC is the only index which is trading in positive territory, and of course we have a bit slight modest gains for the UK 100, for the FTSE 100 index as well. But for the stock 600 and for the stock 50, we are seeing a momentum to the downside. Now, of course, because the European markets are trading to the downside, we also have the US futures, such as the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500 futures, also trading to the downside. The reason for that is because investors are hesitant to place big bets ahead of the key event which is taking place today. Now, what is that key event? You may want to ask me that question. That key event is the FOMC meeting. Today at 7 p.m. British Standard Time, the Federal Reserve is going to announce their interest rate decision. And that will include the monetary policy. The decision is going to include what they're going to do with the interest rate and, of course, the asset purchase program. What instruments is the decision is really going to influence? Of course, we're going to see a massive momentum in the Forex market. Will also see moves in the equity market. We'll also see moves in the commodity space as well. And of course, in the crypto as well, because things are priced against the dollar. So overall, we're going to see big moves in the market on the back of that. So at 7 p.m. British Standard Time, if you are in front of the computers, you may want to look at these particular assets, because the volatility is really going to shoot, and that would be your opportunity to really look at some new opportunities. Now, speaking of the opportunities, if we look at three major indices over in the United States, meaning the Dow Jones, the S&P, and of course the Nasdaq, the index which is giving us the biggest sort of a sell signal based on the technical analysis is really your Nasdaq index. Why? On the daily time frame, first of all, we have a reverse of same. So that is what we call a double top. Now, then on top of that, what we also have, that while the price is making same sort of highs, the relative strength index isn't really showing that sort of a momentum. The relative strength index is showing us a downward momentum. So we have a negative correlation divergence, meaning while the price is trying to move to the upside, the momentum is not backing that up. So this usually signals us that the upward momentum in the price isn't really likely to continue. We could potentially see the price moving to the downside. And the fact that we have another signal already formed in terms of a price action, as I discussed earlier, the double top, if one is looking to short the US futures, then they could be looking at the Nasdaq as the prime example for that. Now, in terms of earnings, of course, a lot of companies have already produced their very, very strong quarterly earnings. In fact, as of yesterday, more than 30% of the companies were already produced their earnings, and 84% of those companies produced positive earnings. And this is the first time since the financial crisis that we have seen such strong numbers when it comes to the US earnings. So that really tells us that how big that momentum is. Now, going back again to the FOMC, the big event for today, when we are talking about that, I think of course, no one is expecting any change with respect to the interest rate or asset purchase program. But the Federal Reserve tone and their view about the economy matters quite a lot. Why? Because the retail sales is at 4-year high. The PMI manufacturing data is at 14 years high. Consumer confidence is soaring. And then new orders are also increasing and they are accelerating at a record pace. So all of this really shows us that the US economy is very much on a robust platform now, and the economic growth is accelerating. However, we have still not seen the peak of that growth. Why? Because only half of Americans or consumers, or let's just say Americans, have received their first shot of COVID vaccine, and that means that we still have a long way to go before we can say that yes, now the full economic activity is really going to be resuming over in the United States, and that will really propel that economic data. So it'd be interesting how Jerome Powell, who's the Federal Reserve Chairman, he's really going to balance that. And folks, once again, whatever I am discussing, if it doesn't make sense because it is too much difficult for you to digest, or if it's too complicated for you to digest, put your questions here. This is why I am here to answer those questions for you guys. So always feel free to post those questions over here or afterwards, and I'll be very happy to come back and then answer those questions for you. So in terms of a currency market, we do not expect the euro dollar to move massively on the back of that, because obviously there will be no change. But in terms of the Japanese yen, we could potentially see the dollar strengthening more, meaning the Japanese yen moving to the downside. As for Swiss franc, and of course sterling, again, do not expect too much of a move, because in the United Kingdom we have a massive rollout of coronavirus vaccination process. So again, a lot of people are gathering that. Now, in terms of cryptos, folks, once again, we are not seeing the evidence of massive momentum coming into the crypto market. We are focused on the 4-hour time frame and the 50-day simple moving average. If the price can stay above that, then we are likely to move above the 55,000 and then continue the journey towards the 60,000 price level. If that doesn't happen, then we are once again, unfortunately, likely to revisit the 50,000 price level in terms of a Bitcoin. So that is certainly something that we really got to keep an eye on. But speaking of cryptos, something which is very, very exciting is Ethereum, because Ethereum formed yet another all-time high today and touched that 2713. Earlier today, we've done a full technical analysis covering those price levels where the prices are likely to bounce. So if you haven't seen that, I recommend you to watch that. All right, that's all for now, and I'll see you guys same place tomorrow. Thank you.